Acting President Yemi Osinbajo continues to push the need to deal with the waves of hate speeches currently spreading across the country. This time it was at a meeting with leaders from the southeast as he appealed that no one should hide under ethnic or religious platforms to support comments that divide the nation.
I firmly believe that we ought to address these agitations and proclamations urgently and decisively. Burying our heads in the sand and expecting the storm to blow over of their own accord is not an option. But equally not reasonable is falling for the temptation for any kind of tit for tat, whether it is language used or is in the kinds of gestures that have been expressed. This has never worked or moved anyone closer to a peaceful or sensible resolution. History has shown us, especially contemporary history, that wars today hardly ever end. They just simply go on. Indeed, you're all aware of the Igbo proverb that says that a man who rushes into battle does not realize that battle entails death. We are witnesses to the unspeakable devastation that war continues to inflict across the world. No one who has seen the horrors of war, even merely on television, would wish it on their worst enemy.
And let's explore this further. We have activist and public affairs analyst Olufemi Lawson in the studio with us. Thank you for your time. Acting President Yemi Osinbajo, in other words, was saying, though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. How important is it for Nigerians to observe this at this time?
If such a statement credited to the acting president yesterday, at least in the little time we have experienced democracy in Nigeria since 1999, even if we don't want to go too far to our history as a nation, we have had presidents, we have had governors, we have had a lot of our leaders making such statements, threatening to deal decisively with people who make speeches, people who create tension where not necessary, people who propagate violence within the polity. But unfortunately for us as a nation, we have never been seen to be serious about this, not only by the international community, but even by Nigerians who are always at the mercy, or at the receiving end when this violence are perpetrated. It's quite unfortunate that till date, a lot of persons, even during the elections in Nigeria, made instigating statements, made such speeches that are even more terrible than the Kaduna declarations. But today they are freely walking on our streets, and that has given, more courage to those who think they can just wake up and make speeches that can create violence within the system.
Let's allow this point you've just raised now lead us to tit-for-tat attacks, like the Vice President also mentioned. There is a temptation to go ahead and revenge when one has been attacked. Is this meeting enough to stem the tide of the tit-for-tat attacks, or some analysts are calling for a firmer hand from the federal government against troublemakers, trouble starters in the first place?
Well, I think fundamentally we must understand the Nigerian system, how it works, what happened in the villa yesterday and the earlier meeting with the Arewa Consultative Forum. To me, it is just one of those conventional things that we see in Nigeria almost every day. In fact, even beyond the federal government, in some states now there are issues, involving some section of the society and the other. And find people being hosted at the government houses, being hosted for lunch, dinner. And this never really addressed the core issues. What really we need to do to address the core issues is for government to ensure that our law is used to deal with perpetrators of violence and people who make hate speeches. It is not enough to call ethnic leaders from one section and the other. The truth is that if, starting from where it all began, the Kaduna proclamation by a section of the Arewa youth that has led to the meeting of the acting president with the Arewa Consultative Forum and later the Ohanese, we must understand deeply, if you study the history of violence in Nigeria, if God forbid, this declaration, is implemented by those who have threatened, a section of the country to leave a particular part of the country by October 1st, it is not going to affect this section of the country alone. History have taught us that anytime there are issues between the Hausas, and particularly the Igbos, like the ultimatum given a few weeks ago. It is not, you know, I've been in that part of the country before, and I understand that for the average, you know, mercenary, these people that are used to perpetrate this violence, on that day, it is not going to be the man from Abia, Ebonyi, Imo, Anambra, and Enugu that will be an Igbo man any longer. The man from Edo, the man from Delta, the man from
the South,
vulnerable.
basically.
So the acting president must go beyond meeting the ACF leaders and the Ohanese leader to, you know, expanding the scope of the discussion to involve national stakeholders, key stakeholders within the nation across all ethnic groups that may eventually have, you know, to come back, and we must look beyond this, you know, boardroom consultations to ensuring that our laws are made to be very effective to deal with.
Okay, I want you to just speak further on that because of time, really. By calling all these leaders, tribal leaders of the country together, is it about saying that, okay, let peace reign, or for them to discuss the way forward for the country, as because many people are talking about restructuring now, that exactly.
Mm.
There is the need for Nigerians to come together and define why they are together.
And decide whether they want to still stay together.
Yeah, thank you. That is inevitable at the point we are now. Thank God that yesterday the Senate demanded that, you know, the presidency should forward the 2014 recommendations, 2014 combat recommendations back to the Senate. Now we are beginning to see the need for us to discuss as a nation. We may not necessarily to bring together again a lot of people for a national confab. We have the 2014 National Conference already in place, and we must understand that some of these younger elements who make this statement, who preach these hate speeches, are people back in there. Remember what happened in Kaduna? Only a few days after, a prominent northern leader, and a professor for that matter, came to endorse the statement made by that section of the Arewa youth, calling on Igbos to leave the north. You must understand that. That is why it is important that the acting president engage, these tribal leaders from all the sections of the society, but it must not be limited to that. There are other key stakeholders within the society, within the civil society, within the youth sector,
even at the
within the academia.
Level.
You understand? Where people like Professor Anga Abdullah came from, at the grassroots level, they must all be engaged.
Thank you very much for your analysis on TVC News. Olufemi Lawson, activist and public affairs analyst, saying that all must be done to ensure a unified Nigeria.